My first experiences with standards-based bulletin boards, my first thought was, wow. When I came to Northwest ISD, I thought that's a lot of stuff to put up on the board. And where I had been before, it was really focused on just something cute in the hallway. And so it was a lot of things that were more focused to go up on the board here.
So when we first started standards-based bulletin boards, it was very difficult. It was scary. It was the unknown. Teachers had kind of a checklist they were checking off. Do I have a title? Do I have circumstances of performance? Do I have all my parts in? And it was very much focused on what the teacher was doing and less about what the students were doing. It wasn't always real work. We were kind of inventing things to put on the standards-based bulletin board.
Hi, I'm Deidre Peacock, and I am a physical education teacher with Northwest ISD. Since I am a physical education teacher, my standards are met by movements, and since we don't do a lot of written work, at first it was hard for me to show how my students are meeting standards physically on an actual bulletin board. I've had to do research and find different and creative ways to be able to show those standards. This year I used Erasmus for the first time. My kids really like that, and I'm always on the lookout for new and different apps to be able to showcase what my students are doing physically in class.
As library media specialist, I think my initial impression of it was, how am I going to make that work in the library? I think a lot of the teachers struggled with how do they make it authentic, taking what they're already doing in the classroom and showcasing that through the standards-based bulletin board. I know that they struggled sometimes creating extra work for themselves in order to get pieces to go up on the board. For me, it was hard because I work with all the grade levels, and I wanted to be able to showcase everybody's work from K to 5. So finding the best way to do that through the standards-based bulletin board took a little while to work
Now,
through.
after some experiences with standards-based bulletin boards, I think that they're really important, and they set a tone for what kind of school we have. And I feel like it shows parents and other visitors that we're doing real learning in our classroom. And it also helps me when I'm planning and thinking about the work that I'm having my kids do. I make sure that it's very intentional and very standards-based teaching so that we can see that work.
The way that standards-based boards affect my instruction has been a positive thing for me. Standards-based boards have made me more aware of what my actual standards are and how my students are meeting them, as well as how many of my students are meeting those standards. Instead of it just being an objective that needs to be met by my students, I've had to take a deeper look into each standard and how my kids will reach those standards, who's reaching those standards, and at what level they're reaching those standards.
I love the way that the standards-based bulletin board acts as a window to my classroom. Since I am the librarian, I don't have lots of parents that are coming into my classroom like we see in the regular teacher's classroom. So having that bulletin board out there lets parents see what kinds of activities are happening in the library so that they can make that connection to how the library ties in with classroom instruction and why it's such a needed piece within the school. I also think that the standards-based bulletin board lets other grade levels see what's happening in the library so that they get excited and they come in and they say, hey, are we going to get to do that project? Are we going to be able to get to do that? So it acts kind of as an advertisement for my program.
So now, after several years, I think we all understand the purpose of standards-based bulletin boards. It's really supposed to be that window into our classrooms to show visitors, parents, teachers, students what's going on in our room, what our students are learning, what the expectations are, what is the standard, and then how are our kids achieving that standard. It tells the lessons that the teacher has done before, the process that the kids did to get through it, and I think the work that we're putting out now is more authentic. It's not the big fancy stuff, it's what's really happening in our classrooms.
I've been with the district 7 years, and when we first started standards-based boards, teachers weren't really sure how they worked. The parents were very confused trying to read them on the wall, and the students didn't really understand what they meant. Over the last several years, I've noticed that the students are the ones that are the most excited about seeing their work on the walls. the teachers have understood how they work and have been able to become more creative in displaying their students' work in different ways and showing how their students have met
Because
standards.
we're focused on the texts, we use those initially as we're planning our lessons, and then as we're building our rubrics, and then building the commentary form that we fill out. We share all of that with the students, and so they know exactly what we expect of them. And then they're able to self-evaluate also. Did I do enough? Did I meet that standard? And so I think because of all that, we're seeing improvements in their achievement.
Students have the ability to see right before them what made a certain student's product or a certain student's work make the board. A lot of time there's student commentary where students have gone through and talked about why their piece made it up there, going through the rubric that teachers use to evaluate that work. I know that students are motivated when they see their work out there. They get that smile, they get excited, and they want to continue to see their products out on the bulletin board. And then, like I said earlier, for me, since as the librarian, they get excited about what I'm going to be able to do in 4th grade, what I'm going to be able to do when I'm a 5th grader. So it really motivates them to keep achieving so that they get to that next grade level so that they can do those projects.
I know that my kids are influenced by the standards boards because I can see them striving to do better when their work is going on the boards. They also like to see other work and across grade levels. When we do vertical math problems, they like to go look at the 2nd grade work, and they've borrowed some of those strategies that the older kids are using, and we talk about that and we see it then in our classrooms.